Where? All right, let me just put microphone. Let's try the sound check. Tell me how you hear me. Tell me how awkward it is. We're gonna try doing it with the new camera. This is actually my first stream after Starsky, but with Starsky it was a little bit different setup, different software that I used. 5x5. That's really nice to hear. That is really nice to hear, especially. So we have a couple of things like, guys, I know you have a lot of things to tell me. You should heat up, you should prepare. I'm pretty sure you all are ready. We talked a little bit before the stream started. But we have a couple of new things, and I have a couple of preambles that I need to get out of my way. First thing, we finally have Nightbot in the chat. At first, it was a little bit raging supreme and was like timeouting people, and I need to configure it, and I will. But Nightbot is there to essentially provide content for us all and help us in a large way, because Nightbot records all the chat history. So whenever we had problems where you would ask questions and I would forget it, now Nightbot is going to record this chat history, and after the stream I will actually go through the chat, and I will actually pick up all of the questions that were asked to me, and I will answer them either in separate video or at some point. So right now that means we're going to have logs, and I'm very happy about it. That is the first thing. Second thing, as we were starting our stream, I got, I guess, a new feature on YouTube. Now, copyrighted music is not only impacting the recording of the video, but also the streaming. So now, if there is too many copyrighted music that is played in a sequence, basically you're becoming like a channel that is streaming copyrighted music. As YouTube detects it, then it becomes an issue. So most probably we'll need to shorten down the number of songs that I play from Ukraine from half an hour to something else. So we're probably just gonna have maybe a couple of songs or a couple of songs that will gonna get introduced every week or something like this. So that's the preamble. We're gonna try to figure it out. It's a little bit unfortunate because I really like starting with nice banger and like getting you up to speed with some Ukrainian music, but we'll have to go. And then I have a preamble that I need to tell you. So first things first, I wanna say welcome to a new moderator on the team. It's JJ. JJ is going to be primarily moderating Discord. He has huge experience in Discord, and I mean, I'm really happy that he's there. We still need to talk a lot about like how to make Discord really, really good, and we have a lot of ideas that we will work through. But I really want to welcome him on the team. But besides that, this also gives me a good chance to essentially express my gratitude to the whole team, without whom this whole channel and chat and Discord and everything else would just devolve. We've struck a nerve with a lot of bots recently. They've been overflowing pretty much every comment, every possible niche. So I want to say big thanks to Ali, Raven7, Space Wolf, Don Baca, Lord David, the whole moderator team for doing it, for taking their time to actually make this happen. If I can ask you guys, can you give them please a hand, a little bit of a clap emojis, just to kind of cheer on them, because a lot of this channel, the fact that we can do it cleanly without blocking chat or whatnot, is thanks to them for their effort and they're taking their time with this. So, and finally, after my videos, I usually have the kind of the flow of people that support this channel, and sometimes you're able to read it, sometimes not, because like so I adjusted by the ending of the video. But who people that I didn't add in there actually are people that are buying me coffee, and I will address their comments if there was any questions a little bit later. But I want to say thanks to all of the anonymous coffee supporters to me. I want to say thanks to Scott, Rob Harry, Ryan Klein, Chris Meyer, David from Scotland, Robert Anthony, Oliver Carter, Wayne Jeffries, Mark Levitsky, Rob Susan Osborne, Vic Doba, Grace Walker Kiel, Kiel, sorry for butchering this, Walker, thanks, and Neil. Because these people are really supporting the channel as well on Buy Me a Coffee. It's just they are not on my usual list of supporters from Patreon and membership. And finally, the last thing I'm going to say about Patreon, then we're going to actually, believe you, getting to the actual substance of the stream, is that Patreon has been in a very, very hot waters lately. Patreon banned and demonetized some Ukrainian creators that were actually gathering money and supporting Ukrainian armed forces. And essentially, Patreon said, like, oh, but you're gathering out for military purposes, so therefore this is not okay with our policies, therefore we're banning you. At the same time, a lot of Russian propagandists are still being monetized in Patreon, which is a complete no-no. So if you're a supporter of me on Patreon, consider supporting through other means, maybe buying a coffee, because I think I'm going to start phasing out Patreon as a platform of this channel. If you're subscribed there, it's still fine. I'm going to still get the money. So it's just I would like to transition away from their platform. That would be going forward. With that said, thank you so much for watching. Again, huge thanks to the moderator team. And we are kicking off, and we're going to start today with your questions, guys. So please, if you want to ask questions in chat, I actually should add this to a Nightbot. But if you want to ask a question in chat, please write at Ukraine Matters with a question mark at the end. That's very easy for me to read, and then I will be able to answer. Mark Garcia is asking, how about a PayPal channel too? Yes, I actually have created PayPal. The issue with PayPal, it's very weird because I created an account and I marked that it's a business account, but business accounts for PayPal are being created only for US, so I can fill in all the details except for state, because for state it only has US states. And if I try to, it's like, okay, skip for now, like essentially I cannot operate on that business account. So my PayPal kind of both exists, but also I cannot really do anything with it because it says my business profile is not filled enough. So it's now in a weird situation where I don't know what to do. So PayPal for now is off. Use Buy Me a Coffee. Buy Me a Coffee is very nice, and that platform works. Darth Putin's mouthpiece. What in the world is my army doing? That is a very good question. That is a very, very good question. There's many, many people that are asking that, and I will answer some of it a little bit later this stream. Ingboy, have you considered using Contribee? It is like Patreon but Lithuanian made. Sounds good, Ingboy. Let me save this. I've never heard of Contribee. So this is the first time I'm hearing, so I don't have any opinion on this. I will add this into my notes so I check it out. Thanks so much for pointing it out, Ingboy. Appreciate it. I say, Jared, you are really quiet. Am I really quiet? Guys, am I really quiet? Because on my equalizer, it says like my sound goes pretty up there. So I don't know. Am I quiet? Has Bakhmut been surrendered to Russia? Ooh, it's a hard way to say it. Also, completely incorrect. You sound normal and clear. Thanks. I will talk about Bakhmut a little bit today, but I will leave the full analysis of Bakhmut situation for tomorrow's videos, guys. So we're going to talk about this. Situation on Bakhmut is really bad. It's really bad. But then again, I already gave up on Bakhmut essentially at the 1st of February. So that was like, what, 3 months ago? So Bakhmut went 3 months over my estimates. So we'll talk about it in tomorrow's video, but basically no one is giving up everything. The notion that like someone is giving up anything, where have you been for the last 10 months? Like, are you been living under a rock? Like, oh, Bakhmut, they're surrendering Bakhmut. It's just been 10 years as they've been defending it. Come on. Please, a little bit more serious, a little bit thought. Jens, okay, you sound fine, good. Okay, I need to scroll back chats now, so read your questions. Jens, what's the thing with the new rumors about retreat from East B, the orcs period posted by B Russian mill bloggers? Thanks. I mean, Russian mill bloggers have been saying everything. Like Russian mill bloggers are still saying that Ukraine is about to lose everything. By their notion, for example, if Bakhmut is taken, then suddenly war is over. Ukraine has lost. Ukraine has no army, and then it's like NATO is also just going to get dissolved. That's like what Russian mill bloggers. Short answer: I don't give a shit what Russian mill bloggers say. They are lying most of the time. You sound fine. Thank you. Thank you. So check out on your side if it's too silent for you. It's not me. It's you. NGC7603B. That's a nice nickname. I appreciate it. Is a foreigner already named a hero of Ukraine by President Zelensky? That's a good question. I actually am gonna copy this into this and I will answer this when I know, because the answer is right now is I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that heroes of Ukraine are listed somewhere. There is a list about all of the heroes of Ukraine, and I'm pretty sure I can find a foreigner there if I look if it's there. Mirnicht, why does MOD Ukraine reports lately show such high special equipment losses? Can you define special equipment? I'm not sure. What do you refer to as special equipment? All right. How is the YouTube money spent? Well, generally speaking, I use YouTube money to improve this channel. So I'm buying, like, this camera is bought by YouTube money, but most of the time I'm just donating half of it at least to Ukrainian military. I'm considering of if I should donate more, because now since I already bought the camera, the lights, it's not really how do you say, I don't know what else do I need that much to improve. But to be perfectly clear, YouTube platform is not a charity platform. I am technically not a charity channel. I started this channel because I wanted to support Ukraine, but this is not a charity channel. I'm paying taxes and everything as a for-profit channel. So this is not like I am not running this as charity. As I say to you, if you want to support Ukraine, support Ukraine. Send money to Ukraine. I say it like all the time. If you want to support me, support me. Just like, I'm just saying that half of that money that you support just gonna go to Ukraine. This is just something that I do. It's completely. You should not support me if you just want to half of that money to go to Ukrainian military. If you want half of the money to go to Ukrainian military, send that half of the money to Ukrainian military. If you're wondering, like, if you're worried about where do I spend the money, don't donate. Like, simple. Like, it's so weird. It's like, oh my god, I'm not sure what this guy does with the money. Oh well, I should probably send him $5 right now. Wow. Bellingcat article about Discord and the leaks is excellent. Have you read it? Yes, and we're actually gonna talk. I mean, I prepared a whole script for the leaks. We're gonna talk a lot about the leaks and about the stuff. So that topic is gonna be main topic for today. So let's just get some over questions, and then I think it's been very slow fighting withdrawal for the last months for Bakhmut. Yeah, Kellen done pretty. I mean, like, yes, like Bakhmut was a defensive operation where they did and fought. Then the situation got really bad when they almost got encircled, and I thought that it's almost looming disaster, but disaster never happened. They preserved the line. It was and it still is very hard fighting, but the line never collapsed. The troops never, allowed to crush the line, so they were just fighting, destroying Russian military, fighting, destroying Russian military, doing exactly what defensive operations should do, attracting a lot of the resources of Russian military to this particular point and destroying a lot of them. It's excellent. Like, so whenever people says like, oh no, Bakhmut is just being given away, it's like, are you dumb? Like, because no, it's just a defensive operation. It's like, oh yes, but Russians are still taking land. Yes, because they are attacking. It's like, it's not that hard. Russia has an overwhelming power on a specific part of the front line. That's why they are the attacking side. It's not like a game where it's just like, they get the turn. It's like black and white pieces, like chess. They're technically equal. It's just they exchange turns. No, it's because Russian side has, like, I don't know, has gathered on a very specific direction about, like 8-1, 10-1 advantage in artillery, firepower, manpower compared to the defenders. And defenders are saying, okay, we don't have as much forces as you. We're going to spend as much resources as least resources as possible to bind you into the time and destroy as many of you as we can. Does it mean that they will sometimes need to abandon positions? Yes. So, like, there was a lot of areas that were captured around Kharkiv where Ukrainians were pushed out. But a lot of that areas is now retaken by Ukraine. Capturing and retaking land is just part of the warfare. There goes a lot more in depth about the consequences of that. It's like the fact that the land on which war was is being ruined, that there is a lot of missile strikes, that a lot of population is suffering, right? There's a lot of that. But the general equation is very simple. If you can just exhaust the attacking force by just trading land for essentially bodies, it's a good trade. And Ukrainians have been quite good at it. All right. I got on my rant. I'm sorry. It's just this question has been asked so many times, and for my perspective, the answer is so obvious on it, but I still cannot get it through fully. Okay, special equipment. Yes. I don't know what you mean as a special equipment. Let us know if Pasha, Brandon, and Max need another drone or anything else. I hope they remain safe. I need to reach out to Brandon. Ali has been saying it to me. I need to reach out to Brandon because I hope Brandon can come to Denmark and we can do maybe like a together stream live. That would be nice. When will Russia run out of mill bloggers? I don't think it will. Like, it's easy money. Like, Kremlin is paying a lot of money. Advertisers pay a lot of money. You can go on Patreon, and Patreon pays you a lot of money. What not to like? Like, have you seen how many subscribers have channels that are promoting Russian nonsense? It's crazy. That's why it's so important that you like, subscribe this channel. Oh my God. No, I got you. But if you do, that would be nice. We see how much artillery Russia sends to the front, even if it's 60 years old. It do a lot of damage. Orcs are known leaving the flat behind from there, not cry where it is. Okay, yes, and not care where they hit. Yes, correct. You're completely correct, Alfie. Is it Alfie? I hope it's Alfie. It's a little bit farther away. And here I want to address 2 points because I've heard some people talk about this. Firstly, people ask is like, oh my God, look at how much artillery Russia is spending on Bakhmut. And then like some kind of like a Ukrainian commander was also saying Russia spends a lot of artillery equipment. There is like no hunger, no artillery hunger. Yes, but artillery hunger, like Russia is not like, do you expect that artillery is just being equally distributed on the front line? And like where the main effort is that there is no concentration of resources. The whole point of main effort is a concentration of resources. And I'm going to open like a completely new world for you, but artillery shells are also resources. So when we're talking concentration on resources on a very specific part of the front line, that also includes concentration of artillery shells. So that means that on the primary direction of attack, and currently for Russia, the only one, because that's what they're capable of, they are able to essentially have a supply of artillery shells. That does not mean that it's equal everywhere else. For a lot of artillery brigades along the front lines, the Russians, they are struggling with hunger of artillery. Yes, but not for the precise direction. And again, artillery shell for Russians is 20,000 shells a day, because they used to firing like 60 or 80,000 that they used to do before. But 20,000 is a lot. Like a lot. Like a lot. And finally, some people say, oh, it's like, oh my God, you're laughing so much at Russia using all of these older weapons, like, you know, it's like sending T-54 tanks or D-30 howitzers, or like even older howitzers, or like rifles or whatnot. But then I see videos of Ukraine using about the same, you know, super old technology. And the answer to that is very simple. Ukraine never claimed to be superpower in military sense that would rival NATO. Ukraine never invaded other country thinking that it can dominate and subjugate it just by using military force alone. Like a defending country, Ukraine will use anything it has. If it's sticks and stones, it's going to still use it, because they are fighting for their land, for the country, for the lives of the people of Ukraine. So comparing that Russia, supposedly the one that demanded a year ago that NATO withdraw its forces from around Russian border, to the 1997, no, it's like not 1997. Yeah, 1997 borders, and like Baltics get excluded of NATO, Poland get excluded from NATO and whatnot. It's ludicrous to compare the two. Everyone is laughing at Russia because it talks so big, but in reality it is so shit. That's the joke, not the fact that there is an old equipment. All right. I again missed some people donating. There we go. Andrew. Sources say the children from Ukraine were taken to Romania via Russia to be auctioned off to Arabs to virgin bond trophy wise. Completely possible. Completely possible. We have known many cases when, for example, the war just started. There was a huge human trafficking scandal. Because there were like human traffickers that would go to the border, for example, with Poland, with Romania. They offer like to drive Ukrainian refugees, families, children, whatnot, and they will take them essentially as slaves. They kidnap them and whatnot. Human trafficking exists in Europe. It's a very big problem. It's just we're not talking about it that much because it's just like, you know, it's not. It ruins eating a morning croissant, enjoying morning croissant with coffees, essentially, and that was not overture to France. It was like a general perceptive of a European idealism perspective of the world, that there is no fundamental problems in the European Union. And the Pope, oh my God, the Pope can. Okay, there is probably a lot of Catholics here, but when Pope equalizes Ukrainian children's suffering with Russian children's suffering, saying that Ukrainian children suffering because their parents are fighting in the war, and then Russian children suffering are because their parents fighting in the war, not the same thing. Not the same thing. Okay. Cheryl, a convoy got hit in Bakhmut. Was it National Guard? I'm not sure which convoy you're talking about. Was it recent, something like this? There were many convoys hit in Bakhmut. There is a lot of like the road that leads to Bakhmut right now is called the Road of Death. There's a lot of stuff that's been hit on that road. So I'm not sure what you're talking about exactly. Was it yesterday, now, today? Was it just a video that you've seen? It's hard to tell. Uh, Mir nicht. I do not know how Ukrainian Ministry of Defense defines it. I just know that numbers doubled. I just know that numbers doubled the previous record in March. I guess that's towards the special military equipment and so on. My potentially some radars, potentially Russian drones are getting better. So something like this, I would guess. Also, we know airstrikes now are more frequent. We've known that some of the anti-air equipment has been hit quite heavily in the areas around Avdiivka. So potentially that is related to that. But I am not completely certain what the situation is about because again, like you don't know what Ukrainian MOD defines as specialized equipment, and I don't know what Ukrainian MOD defines as specialized equipment. So, not completely sure. Scott Moore, how is China helping Russia right now, mostly economically? How do you think they will act moving forward? They will continue doing the same. More aid to Russia, or do you think they will force Russia to peace? I don't think they will force Russia to peace. China is interested in Russia disrupting Western powers. I think China is getting from Russia everything that it wants. Uh, I mean, imagine it like this: if there would be a guy living downstairs and he would give you like all of the salary, all the everything, just because you are such a good neighbor, and he has some problems and whatnot, it's like, and it somewhat aligns with yours. You wouldn't mind it, right? Why would you want to change things? So, and China doesn't want to change. So they will just happily take Russia's whatever and continue doing the same thing. If it just requires to stay neutral, hey, good for them. Any promising design for drones for the parade in Moscow? There are some. There are some. We'll see. We'll see. Because so for people that don't know, I believe it's the owner of the Monobank, one of the banks inside of Ukraine, has promised 550, I believe, $1,000 reward for Ukraine, which is quite a lot in Ukraine, which to the company investment, $550,000 investment to the company whose drones are gonna land on the Red Square on the 9th of May during parade with some kind of a Ukrainian slogan, Ukrainian symbols or whatnot. So would be nice to get some Arthur anti-artillery radars to Bakhmut together with 4 archers. Potentially, yes. So how Russia, how Russia, by the way, because archers is not the only kind of advanced artillery that Ukraine has gotten. There are some other artillery pieces that Ukraine has gotten that got hit. And you know how mostly of them got hit is Russia has been just scouting things and they've been literally looking at tracks on the ground. And Ukrainians, like a lot of them sometimes, not a lot of them, but sometimes they would drive these nice fancy artillery pieces and they would drive essentially on the same positions. And then Russians would just pick a position and would send drone every day to that location. And then at some point, the Ukrainians would come back to that position with nice and quick artillery piece, and then they would get hit by a drone. That's why, for example, a lot of these Lancet drone strikes we have a separate videos for, because there was already a surveillance drone in the area monitoring that position. So it's not a very complex thing, but it was very interesting. John Newman, not just shells, but barrels too. You really wear off fast when you use them. Yes, 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 that was that. Uh, oh my God. Patsy, Patsy. Sorry for butchering if I did. Do you think Belarus is heading towards a civil war, a coup when the crisis is coming up by the end? Maybe. I don't know. To be honest, don't care. Really, really don't care what happens with Russia, Belarus. Very, very little care in the world. Have you watched Year documentary by Project by Dmitry Komarov? Yes, it's a very good one. I'm not sure if it has English subtitles. If it does, I recommend everyone watching it. Super good. Dutch 1989. Ukraine, this war is fought the same way as World War II, but in World War II, a lot of barbed wire is used. Why we don't see this time? What are your thoughts on it? That's a good question. I think I saw it somewhere, but basically because it's a lot of mobile. Also, I'm not sure if during the Second World War there was that many barbed wires. I know there was some, but was it a lot? It's a good question. I don't really have an answer to this. I don't really have why is it so. I know it's used some places, but very, very limited. You're very, very correct. I've never actually thought about this. I'm gonna put it actually on the notes, barbed wire, and I will see if I can answer this. Lilith, had someone say Belarus is going to launch tactical nukes? Belarus is not going to launch tactical nukes. It's just bluff, okay? That country will be destroyed and Russia will be unscathed. Okay, so the person who said it was like an expat from Russia who wrote a very famous book about Russia, but since then he went on some kind of weird deep end, and now he's promoting a lot of conspiracies, because right now he's promoting that's like, oh, Russia said that they will place nukes inside Belarus, and then they're gonna nuke everyone. Essentially, that's the logic essentially that he's pulling. The problem with that logic, that topic is so silly that I actually was ignoring it for so long, but people just keep bringing it out because I guess nukes. So when Russia transfers nukes to Belarus, it's going to be tactical nukes. There are differences between nukes. There are tactical nukes and there are strategic nukes. Tactical nukes are small nukes. It's essentially couple tens of aviation bombs. They are supposed to be used in a tactical sense, like their purpose is to be used on the battlefield when you're executing some kind of maneuver. So you will fire a nuke, for example, you obliterate some of the enemy positions, and then your forces go through the nuking zone. That's at least the Russian doctrine for use of tactical nukes. Not Russian, but Soviet. So, and then they will obliterate enemy force, and then you use that bridge to breach into the enemy's backlines, and then it is. Otherwise, they don't really do that much at all. So if they're hitting the city, let's give an example. So Mariupol was essentially destroyed like it was hit by about 24 of tactical nukes. That's how badly destroyed city was. Did it change a lot of things? Well, not really. So the difference between nukes is only because it's nuclear. And then there are big nukes, strategic nukes. And strategic nukes are not even in question here. Then the second one, there is very little, like, what will Belarus really fire with tactical nukes? Like, if Belarus, like, let's drop the question who is firing, but if Belarus, like, who are they destroying with these tactical nukes? Europe, Poland, whatnot? Like, what 1 unit of forces in Poland? That's it? Then second one, who is firing the nukes? Russia is transferring the nukes to Belarus. Yes, but it's a hosting agreement with Belarus. It is still Russia and Russians who are in control. Like, if the nukes are fired, it's not Belarus that are firing them. It's just Russians that are located on the territory of Belarus. Like, if suddenly Russian nukes fired by Russian operators are being fired from the territory of Belarus, they are still Russian nukes. It's not Lukashenko who is going to be firing them. He's not going to get control of nukes. And then we get into the fact that it's a complete nonsense, like the most important part, because there is no spot on the map of Ukraine that would be hit by the tactical or strategic nuclear missiles that could not be hit from the Russian territory. None. Russia has the capabilities, they have the missiles of delivery for many, many thousand kilometers. They don't need the territory of Belarus. It's a fluke. It's achieved nothing. It's a complete media stunt. They just put nukes in the news cycle and everyone is up their asses saying, oh no, nuclear, nuclear, oh my God, run. Fuck me. So it's nothing. There is nothing there. Maria Anastasia, opinion of Macron's appeasing stance lately, especially after his visit to China. Macron he likes agreements. That's what he always is. Macron's heart is in the right place. I hear a lot of critique about him, but his heart was always in the right place. What I don't feel that he's a very strong leader in the future Europe. I believe he's a leader from the past Europe. I believe a lot of sentiment about European stance is changing, especially when it regards to autocracies. I believe Macron is, and his weaker positions, the negotiated positions, let's try to come with a peace agreement, because he's coming to China essentially. If I can do everything that I can to help stop this war, I want to do it. But I feel that we're drifting away from that format at stopping the war at any cost. I feel we are drifting more towards the perspective at the way that the war ends actually matters, because only the correct finalization of war can guarantee long and lasting peace. So I feel that Macron just feels a little bit out of place now, if you know what I mean. Denis Davidoff showed a bombed Ukrainian convoy yesterday. Many things are being bombed every day, convoy and whatnot. It's like there's a lot of things that Ukraine is losing. There's a lot of things, like, for example, did you know that about once a week some kind of Ukrainian storage gets blown up by Russians? I know, right? Crazy, because we used to see only HIMARS striking Russian positions and then Russian facilities. And I'm talking out of my ass, because sometimes it's two, sometimes it's like none. But the point is, Russia is also striking Ukrainian targets, both like convoys, both concentration of forces. It's war. That's what's happening on the war. That's why, like, a lot of my channel, I try to focus on the bigger picture. And the bigger picture, the convoy is bad, but it doesn't really change a lot, does it? It's just one convoy. Have you seen like how many cars were destroyed there around the road to Bakhmut? Tens, like dozens of them. So, but it's part of the war. It's part of the war. The fact that Russia has been able to strike moving target is nasty, but it's not impossible. Russia has surveillance. Please stop using the term tactical nuke. It's entirely incorrect. What? Does Ukraine have any tactical nukes? Ukraine has no nukes. You know why? Everyone knows why. Please explain to T-Bean why Ukraine doesn't have tactical nukes. sorry, no, T-Bean. Don't be mad to T-Bean, but no, Ukraine does not have any nuclear weapons. Ukraine is not a nuclear power. There's only one nuclear power in this conflict. It's Russia. Septic Lama, did you hear about the okay, we're 1 hour 10 minutes. Let me take additional 10 minutes answering question, and then we go into did you hear about the point about Eastern March in Germany, promotion and peace between Ukraine and Russia? Did you hear about the Eastern March in Germany, promotion peace between Ukraine and Russia? Made me pukes. Yeah, no, I haven't heard it, but peace about Russia and Ukraine. Okay, cool. There is a possible peace between Russia and Ukraine. Russia gets the fuck out of Ukraine and then peace. That's the way out of the conflict. Mark Magira, yes, a nuke is a nuke. There is no such difference between tactical, strategic nuke. It's a nuke. No. Well, I mean, it is a nuke, yes, but the difference is the scale, like how much damage it does. A tactical nuclear missile is many, 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 many times less devastating than a strategic one. Like just it's tactical nukes are kind of small. Like they don't have a big warhead and a big nuclear load. Does it like okay? So yield, big nuclear yield is not there. So it's made for like that's why it's called tactical and so on. That's it. I don't know. Google it. I don't want to talk about nukes because it's irrelevant. Putin is not going to use nukes because nukes do not solve problems for him. It just creates more problems. Nukes are not going to be used in this war. Hi, do you think Russia will survive losing this war intact? Could they lose some border countries? Don't care. Don't care. Michael, as much as I love questions about Russia, really don't care about what happens with Russia after the war. Really, really don't care. Will it survive? Will it not? I really don't care. Like I hope they get locked out, they figure out if they want democracy, autocracy, whatever, and then they stick with it. Like be like North Korea. I don't know, threaten the world, just stay out there. Ryan Macbeth did an excellent job of why no Bob Wire. Hey, great. So the answer to about Bob Wire, guys, you should watch Ryan Macbeth's video. By the way, really good YouTuber. You should check out his channel. Really nice, like a lot more knowledgeable than I am in a lot of war stuff. If I'm just a guy on YouTube, he is actually a person with some experience and understanding of war, which is nice. It's always nice to watch some people that know what they're talking about, right? I know. Killen Dunn, Ukraine must follow Finland's footsteps. Militarize NATO. Yes, Ukraine should be militarizing. Like I'm not sure if Finland is the right term. I think more like Israel. Can you drop more verbal f bombs for Ruskies, please? No, like I mean, I'm not dropping f bombs for the sake of f bombs. I'm saying because like when I feel something, when I feel that I need to. I will check Dennis's video about convoy. Didn't have the chance. I was traveling. Thank you. I will figure out. Mr. Burns, 50 kiloton nuke can cause destruction for just under 9 square kilometers. 50 kilotons can be considered tactical. Nukes cause massive destruction, even tactical. Sure. A tactical nuke is used not really correct because it can still annihilate the city. Okay, no more nukes. I'm skipping the nukes question. It's irrelevant to discussion. Like you're fucking a fly. Like you're really is like, oh my god, this nuke is not tactical. It doesn't matter. Nukes do not solve any problems. Like nukes in Belarus are not going to be fired by Lukashenko. No, no more nukes. Ghost Sus, do you think that the future counterattack from Ukraine in the south will Ukraine territory as fast? That's a very good question. How fast the territory will be? It might go both ways, right? Because Russia did put a lot of fortifications up in the south, so overall Russians are ready for the attack. And I mean, you know, it's going to be in the south. Russians know in the south. My dog, I don't have a dog, but my friend's dog can know that it's going to be in the south. So overall, there are a lot of for and against Ukrainian offensive, what can work and what can not work. So it's a lot of really unknowns there. I still think it's going to be successful because there's been just a lot of planning, and I'm pretty sure that if Ukrainian command will not consider things to be successful, they will just not launch it. It will maybe make me look stupid, and about half of the internet looks stupid, or like I mean the experts on the internet that were saying that the counteroffensive is about to begin. But it's irrelevant to the discussion because it's the Ukrainian command that's going to be assessing their forces and the situation on the ground and the preparedness of the enemy because they will have the intel on that. So the depth of penetration and the speed of penetration can vary a lot. I can tell you that I'm hearing that like, for example, that there are both the defensive positions for the Russians. That's on one side, as an example. But on the other side, we also hear that Russians on the south side are not seeing almost any battle. So they are getting really, really cocky. And they are like saying, oh my God, Ukrainians are so weak. We're going to beat them. And essentially mirroring the vibes that they had when the invasion just started. Because a lot of these, both the first and second lines, are mobilized troops that almost didn't have any fighting behind their belt at all. Whereas, for example, people that are fighting right now on the east side are not really saying that Ukrainians are kind of weak anymore. So it's a very, there are fors and against, but I'm pretty sure that it's still gonna succeed, because even if, like, what is a success for Ukrainian offensive? In my perspective, the biggest success is cutting the strategic supplies between the eastern, not the eastern, but between the eastern, like Donbass region, and like Kherson, like southern Kherson of the river, and Crimea. That's success. So if there is no connection in between those two, then the supplies for those regions will need to go through Crimea. So taking a really, really long and narrow line into Kherson, that will start bringing the starvation to the forces in Kherson, from which port Ukraine can start methodically destruction of them, cutting them off, and so on. That would be already a success in my book. Now, if we're looking a step beyond that, then additional success would be exit to coastline. For example, in the area of Berdyansk, because from that area, Ukraine can already start targeting Crimean Bridge with some of the JDAMs, bombs, and so on. They can execute some kind of operation of actually bombing that bridge with airstrikes or like HIMARS or GLSDBs or whatnot. So essentially get that bridge out of commission. That opens possibilities. That is another thing. That is like that escalates situation more in favor of Ukraine. Then the situation might happen that Russians will see that they cannot hold, and then they will fall back to the fortified positions around Crimea. For example, giving up the Kherson Oblast at all. So no, everything north of Crimea, and then try to essentially hold the entry to Crimea. Then we're getting into the siege situation, which is again favorable to Ukraine because Crimea essentially turned into a big cauldron for Russians, and it's a good negotiating positions for a lot of the Russians, because at that moment that basically opens a potential for diplomatic solution of the conflict. Then Russia gets out of Ukraine, agrees to terms, and their army gets to live. And then obviously there are like some kind of total rout options, and then Russians just run, abandon everything. Ukrainians break into Crimea, take Crimea by storm, surprise, rush to the Kerch Bridge, cut the Kerch Bridge off with forces, and then slowly execute everything that is left on the Crimean Peninsula. That is also a possibility. But as I explained, for me, success is even if Ukraine doesn't reach the sea, and it will still be able to essentially cut the connection between those two groups of Russians, it will still be a success in my book. All right, that was a long talk. If I haven't, there's an ask, Lanluigi asking about the leaked documents, and we're going to talk about leaked documents right away. So, guys, if I haven't asked your questions, remember I'm going to look through the logs of Nightbot. So that means that I will either make additional video or I will try to address it, and we're going to have a question session at the end of the video anyway. So let's talk about leaked documents. I'm now going to close down the chat. For myself. And I'm going to open my script because I really wanted to talk about documents. And maybe I'm going to actually make this as a how do you say, like a clip out of the video that I'm going to put in a separate video because it's an important talk. So this is going to be the starting point then. we recently made a poll where we were discussing to talk about the leak of the secret documents from the apparently American sources that are describing the plans of Ukrainian counteroffensive and some other things. Well, I actually took my time studying the documents, studying the impact, listening to the experts, what that have to say, and we did a little bit of a poll about how do you want to talk to me about this. And while majority of people by one specific option said that they want for me to describe every document in like every precise detail, going about every number, majority of people overall chose that I either not talk about documents at all or I talk about them generally. So what I'm going to do basically, I'm going to talk about documents. I'm not going to show it, I'm not going to share it, but if you're able to find it, then you can kind of follow along what I'm going to be talking about. If you haven't seen the documents, then don't worry. I'm going to describe them to you, what they mean, what they represent, and how are they looking and what's their impact. Let's start talking about them. So some time ago, and we're going to get to the way that they got leaked. So some documents got leaked that apparently are something to do with Ukraine and Ukrainian counteroffensive, and they're kind of sensitive. And to understand what kind of documents got leaked, in US, they generally have three gradations that are well known, at least, of secrecy. There are the lowest level of secrecy, which is confidential. Then there is the next one, which is secret. And then there is top secret. The documents that we're going to be talking about today, they have the markings of secret documents. So it's the middle of the two. They're not just confidential for some private eyes or people with access, but actually some containing some of the supposedly secret information. For Ukraine, major parts about Ukrainian documents made up of 5 paper documents that are representing different aspects about the war situation in Ukraine for a period around the end of February, start of March. These documents are in a paper format, and they were essentially A3 format papers with pretty pictures and short descriptions about certain stuff on them. And these 5 documents, of which I'm going to start with the probably most intriguing one, and the one that is describing probably the most sensitive stuff for Ukraine, is the document on Ukrainian brigades. So the document that we're talking about is describing the equipment that needs to be delivered to Ukraine, and describes the training time for Ukrainians, and describes when that training needs to be completed and what kind of equipment Ukrainians need to receive. The document shows that there are 9 brigades for which Western allies, and these 9 brigades are assault brigades that will be used in Ukrainian counteroffensive. And these 9 brigades for which the Western allies are gonna supply weapons to, it marks what kind of tanks will be supplied, the main battle tanks, what kind of transportation and infantry fighting vehicles will be supplied to these brigades, and it shows which kind of artillery support they will be getting. And beyond that, on one side, so just describing what will be gotten to this, it also has a Gantt chart in the middle where it explains the delivery schedule for these brigades together with the training schedule of the brigades. Of the training, it states that Ukrainians need to be that the Western ally, an additional 3 brigades would be trained by Ukrainians, but they are outside of this discussion. So these then 9 brigades that were discussed by Western allies, supposed to be 6 of them trained by the start of April, and another 3 should be then trained by the end of April, by the 30th of April, essentially suggesting that brigades will be ready with full delivery by the 30th of April. So what's really, so from the first kind of oversight for looking at this, it says, oh my God, it shows like a lot of stuff. I personally know that certain like pieces of equipment making it to certain brigades, I can confirm that it is accurate, that it is these particular brigades that are getting these pieces of equipment. I have other sources verifying this. So overall, the delivery part might be relevant. But what this actually shows is actually nothing new, because in the equipment sections of what actually going to be delivered to Ukraine, there is literally nothing new. So the only new piece of information from the equipment that we haven't heard before, like publicly stated by sources, is just which brigade are gonna get which equipment, which is kind of, it's not nice, but it's not that critical. Like, it's not something that is super secret. Then we go into the second question. Well, you know that these brigades are going to receive their equipment and training by the end of April. And my question to you is basically asking this question. Did you not know that supposedly the Ukrainian counteroffensive are going to start in May? And we're gonna hear that Ukrainians are gonna do their counteroffensive in May because that's when they're gonna be ready, and that's where ally equipment is gonna make it to Ukraine, and that's when all of the newly formed brigades are gonna finish their training. That is not information that was hidden. Like, yes, it is presented in a nice Gantt chart where like it's like what deliveries from which country, where, but it's not really telling a lot of new stuff. Like, it's not a thing that suddenly twists and turns, and like Ukraine, everything is exposed. Like, it's like showing that how they were supposed to utilize these things. It's not. It's not. It's just shows that it's pretty nice. Like, it just shows that Ukraine is getting about 250 tanks from Western allies in 9 brigades, which is about 26 tanks per brigade there. It shows that Ukraine is getting a lot of infantry fighting vehicles, a lot of APCs, but that's it. That's it. Like, it just shows that there is just good stuff coming in. And whenever we're talking about these 12 brigades that are mentioned in this document, well, Ukrainian brigade is about 4,000 to 5,000 people. So if we just multiply 12 by, 4,000, even taking lower here, what we get is, like, what? Like 40, 50,000 people? Wasn't these the number of troops that we were talking that Ukraine is preparing for the counteroffensive? It was public knowledge, So the point is that this first document is actually showing that what we already know. So it's just a nice package for it. And the only sensitive information there, supposedly, is the 30th of April when this chart ends. Because that says, like, okay, by after 30th of April, Ukraine is ready to counterattack. But, I mean, that's not really a secret. That's not really a secret. Then we go to the second document. So the second document is something that is named as a daily update that is dated on the 1st of March. And it talks about how much military personnel there is on territory of Ukraine. It talks about how many Western allies, representatives from Europe and US, are in Ukraine. So it's military personnel that is located on the territory of Ukraine. And from one side, this could expose this whole Russian narrative that that it's actually NATO powers that are fighting in Ukraine. It's a leaked document, right? So, for example, if your government was hiding from you that it was actually NATO fighting in Ukraine already, we would see that there is a lot of like NATO personnel already in Ukraine, like thousands and so on, or even like units there. But what we see that it's literally a couple of tens of people, a couple of dozens of people per country. Well, except US, it has like just over 100, I believe, of people that are located from their militaries inside the territory of Ukraine. And those are most probably either instructors or technical advisors to specific equipment or whatnot, or logistics supporters. So the fact that this document is leaked is actually not sabotaging literally Ukrainian kind of setup, but it's a more sabotaging the Russian propaganda narrative that there are already NATO forces fighting in Ukraine. And I know it's a joke, like, don't get me wrong. So that by itself makes this document leaked hilarious for me, because it works more in favor of Ukraine and saying that the Western allies actually don't have the powers there. It's Ukraine that is fighting on its own. Then we go into the third document. And third document is, as someone essentially expressed this, is basically a snapshot of the deep state map, the map that I'm showing on every second video of mine, the map that you're seeing essentially every day on Denis's Davidov's video or reporting from Ukraine video or any other bunch of guys that are covering video updates on the map. There are literally just a map describing what Ukrainian and Russian forces there are present. It says that also how many Russian battalions are, right, it's all counted in battalions. How many essentially, a battalion is like 500 people, I believe. So, and it's basically describes the Russian forces that are fighting on there. It says like there's 91 battalion that are fighting right now for the city of Bakhmut and so on, for this eastern area, and that 32 battalions are right now battle capable, 11 not battle capable and whatnot, and then breaks down also what it is. So this document describing those battalions that are both on Russian and Ukrainian side there, it's military intelligence 101. It's just force assessment. It doesn't go in depth into their weaknesses or like what is there and so on. There is nothing particularly secret there. There is nothing that has been not discussed before. It's just like you open a deep state map, you're gonna see exactly the same thing, except online. And more importantly, some of the OSINT, open source intelligence providers on Twitter, they have better maps than the one that was presented on this particular picture. Because on this particular picture, it just talked in general how many forces Russia has on this particular direction. But there is open source intelligence where they list every single battalion with a name, who is the commander, and where the force is from, and a lot more details. So we have open source information for what is represented on this secret document. Then we go into the fourth document. And remember, there are total 5s that were very, very sensitive for the Ukrainians. The fourth document describes Russia-Ukraine status of a conflict. It's just a bunch of numbers and statistics that are compared to each other. So first number here is the number that describes that Russia has in total 544 battalions in total, all of their Russian forces, of which 527 battalions are engaged on territory, are engaged with the conflict on Ukraine, And 474 battalions are right now located on territory of Ukraine. So now you heard battalion, 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 battalion. What does it mean? Well, it means that Russia has about 170,000 of forces that are located on territory of Ukraine. They have some reserves on territory of Russia. And the most important thing, Russia has engaged 97% of their forces. I wonder if you have heard the number Russia has engaged 97% somewhere before. And I'm going to hint you, it was the Pentagon briefing. It was the Pentagon briefing where they said that Russia has engaged 97% of their total army into the conflict with Ukraine. We just get a little bit more detailed breakdown. That's it. That's all we get with these numbers. That's all we get. Just a little bit more breakdown about what's the composition of it. You say, okay, but like if it's 170,000 of Russian forces that are in territory of Ukraine, didn't Russia mobilize? Like, where are the rest? Well, firstly, dead. Secondly, a lot of what mobilized a lot of people that got mobilized into logistics, because for every fighter that you get, Russia also needs to supply them logistically. So to supply them logistically, they need people to supply them logistics. So a lot of mobilized troops are actually went to supporting regiments. So just to kind of keep track of it. And also about the casualties of the mobilized people, go watch Anas Pak-Nielsen's latest video about casualties of Russia. That's important. Then we go into another number that is found on this document, and here we get into a situation where it's the most disputed number ever, because here we talk about a number that's been proven to be picked up, and we're going to talk about this picked up by the Russian propagandists, and it was tampered with. So there are versions of this document where essentially it says that Ukraine lost like around 16 that Russia lost about 16 thousands, and Ukraine lost about 70 to 80,000 troops killed in action. And I believe I got myself a hand on a document that was not edited. But please note that this particular box that we're talking about, it's called total assessed losses. So if you'll see this document, so in total assessed losses, there has been proven multiple copies of this leak where it had numbers of casualties tampered with, and it has been proven. So the numbers that I'm having here is that Russian losses are 35,500 dead to 43,500 dead. And you say, wow, that's super low number. That's super low number. Well, firstly, it doesn't describe methodology. If it counts only Russian combatants, if it counts Donetsk, if it counts Wagner or not, because a lot of those like technically are not Russian military. Maybe it counts only the Russian military. But if it not, like, if it's 40,000, let's say in between number, if it's 40,000 dead, you know, there is a rule of thumb saying that for every dead person, you have 2 additional wounded. So if we have 40,000 dead, and then we have 2 more, so it's 40,000, then it's 80,000, and then it's 120,000 casualties. By any chance, have you heard about a month ago at the start of March, that there were some sources talking that Russian casualties are approximately 120,000 right now in Ukraine? Just a hint. Just a hint. So we just might be looking at the same numbers that were already told to us. We just see them just in a little bit more detail. But more importantly, I actually am calling a little bit on BS on these numbers, because the box that I'm looking at in my document, again, maybe I also have the version that was tampered this, and it says here for Russians, like on the third line for Russians, it says there are 6,004 ground vehicles destroyed for Russia. sorry, not destroyed, it says losses. So 6004 losses for ground vehicles for Russia. And I'm calling BS. Why? Because this is a state of conflict of the map that I'm looking at on the 1st of March, supposedly. And right now is the start of April. And just recently, if you haven't heard, there's an project that's called Oryx. And what they do, they count actual destroyed vehicles with photo evidence. So whatever is there with photo evidence, they are counting it. So if this secret document is saying that on the 1st of March, Russians have lost 6,004 vehicles, and Oryx now, at the start of April, just said that they counted on visually confirmed over 10,000 burned vehicles. So either Ukraine in a month burned and destroyed and captured over 4,000 vehicles, or there is something is wrong with this data that is reported. Because remember, we all know that not everything gets onto the videos from what was destroyed, especially on the vehicles. We know that for sure. So the number should be bigger than what's visually confirmed. And we see here that it's described in this top secret document that number is ludicrously lower than what is actually visually confirmed. So that is something for you to consider about the validity of these documents. And then we go into oh, and you might say, oh, maybe this is destroyed and actually, like, you know, there's a lot of captured ones, so maybe there's a lot of captured. No. Oryx reported that it was 2,834 vehicles that were captured. So it's even like if you just remove the captured, it's still a huge difference. It's enormous. Like, you cannot just do it in just 1 month. So then the 5th document, and please don't laugh. I'm just basically going to ask you not to laugh. So 5th document is named ground, it says freeze, but it says like ground freeze, like I'm just putting it in. So ground freeze for favorable maneuverability, the document is called. And so this document discusses on essentially historically on which months and which parts of the map in Ukraine, in what time period the ground is frozen enough for maneuvers by vehicles, or the ground is dry enough for maneuvers of vehicles. To put in a simpler words, it's a weather report. It's a weather report. It just says like when it's usually dry, when it's usually cold. That's it. That's the whole secret document. It's just packaged nicely and so on. That's the whole report. So in a dry exit of this 5 supposedly damning documents, we have description of what vehicles to which assault brigade. Not nice, but again, not something that a person that follows the news would not know, and majority of it should be known by intelligence. If it doesn't know, then it's not an intelligence, it's just a clown show. And then the rest of the documents literally doesn't say much more than what open source intelligence has been saying. So the question is like, if this is the best of the leak that you can get, are you sure it's good? And then people say, it's like, oh wait, but there was like another, like a lot of documents that were leaked. Well, it's good that you asked, because I looked in those as well. And these documents, they are not really covering a lot of uncommon things. They are essentially a CIA documents that are representing assessment on the ground on the what's happening, like essentially what's happening in society, you know, how society is reacting to certain things. It's assessment of where was, for example, specific Russian missiles hit, what kind of damage they did, what kind of assessment, you know. It's not even analysis, it's just reports on events. It's glorified news. It's glorified news that is just reported by secret channels, because it's like, you know, it's not for total media. And then there's also like some probing into like how Wagner were negotiating in Turkey to buy some weapons. There is also reports, again, reports on news about how Russian intelligence and what they're planning to do inside of Africa. That's what's being discussed in other documents, and also for other countries. There's also China there, but it's like the same principle applies. It's just like what intelligence does. It just finds news, it finds, like sources of information of what's happening in a country, and then sends it over to analysts, and then analysts analyze to present a picture to command to make decisions. This was not decisions. This is just assessment of the situation on a particular event, on a case. That was what in the other documents. That's it. That's the leak. So what I want you to say is that some time ago I wrote a post about the Chinese peace plan. And you know what I wrote here is that it's not a plan, because for anything to be considered a plan, it needs to follow a certain structure. It needs to follow some certain goals, some kind of like directions. These documents are nothing more than observations. Like the most sensitive one is saying basically, oh, it's going to be 30th April when deliveries are ending, which was saying by everyone. So watch my channel, watch my every video. I'm telling you, Ukraine is going to attack in May. So secrecy is questionable. And here we get into discussion about, has it been done on purpose? Are they secret or not? Firstly, let's talk about, are they secret or not? And my belief is they are, because though first, before that, I want to talk about something else. So first one says like, oh, maybe it was a special operation by United States to release them, to essentially confuse Russian military and so on. And my answer to that is very short. I do not feel like the ends justify the means, because what's happened at the end is that these documents released, they do make a lot of fuzz, but they don't really, present any plans. They don't really present any kind of information that would deter Russia from something that it didn't know. If Russia didn't know what was inside documents, like for example, when ground freezes, what is it doing? What are you talking about? So there is nothing in there that would essentially sabotage Russia. On the contrary, right now there is a huge investigation inside of American intelligence services. There is also probes, as I believe, like maybe in Congress there is discussion. So there is a lot of internal fuzz about like how did these made it out. There is a lot of discussion about it. So this creates a lot of headache. And believe me when I tell you that a lot of bureaucrats, especially working on these positions, they do not want to deal with this headache, with probes, investigations, whatnot. They just want to do their job. So I do not believe that they were released on purpose, because they're not really achieving anything, because the contents of them are so irrelevant. Then we talk into, are they real or not? And I believe real, because the investigation, that's why I jumped the point, because it really created a lot of investigation. So now what? The president that allowed this special operation to happen is now need to go to every investigating Congress and explain, hey guys, sorry that I did it, like it was supposed to confuse Russians, but like just trust me. It's like, it's for the good cause. It's election year that is coming. That would not be a smart way to do. Like putting yourself on a spotlight during election year, not smart. So I do not believe that is. And then secondly, how do we know if it's real or not? So all of the secret documents, they have a very simple kind of rules about. So they have formatting, fonts, colors, like where, for example, the confidentiality should be stated, where additional information, where date should be stated, in what font, in what color, and what size. So this is done, and this alternates during certain periods for a lot of documents. This is done exactly so, for example, if documents are leaked that are referring to specific information, they can be easily identified that these are fakes. So to get documents to be released that are looking like real documents and are treated like real documents and not just being dismissed as fakes, then at that moment they would need to be presented with a very specific case of document formatting, of document design, and everything. It's a very simple method, but it's very, very effective. So with the fact that there is a fuzz about these documents inside of U.S. intelligence community right now, and we get a lot of reports that is happening, I do not believe that they're fake. I do believe that these documents are actually true. And here I want to make a point that because documents don't really show anything out of the ordinary, it's basically just an information update. To be honest, to go and bother like forging these documents and trying to find what is the current format for the American documents just so you can forge them, really, really a lot of effort for a very, very little situation. Then the next one. If it's a leak, could it be done by, for example, Russian intelligence? Well, for Russian intelligence, firstly, why would you leak it for public? Like, if it's secretive information, get it for yourself. Because if it's a leak, then documents have associated people with them. Because there is quite a lot of documents that are covering quite a wider topic, one can just basically Venn diagram and find the number of people that needed to be interrogated to find out who of them are essentially leaking all of these documents, because not all of the people have access to all of the documents. And that means that a lot of those things that were leaked, because they're so, I mean, like they're doing a little bit of a fuss, yes, but what's the impact? Like there is almost no impact there because almost no secret information has been leaked. Like I think the most impactful, supposedly, that would be is that, oh, did you know that US is spying on Ukraine? It was like, oh, no shit, Sherlock. US has been spying on everyone. That's just like intelligence 101. It's a little bit silly to consider that if Russia has an agent in this level of security, it's getting to secret access, they would just leak them to the public for lulz, especially when we start getting the discussion how they got leaked. And then finally we go into that discussion is how they got leaked, because the documents themselves actually were not leaked just recently. They appeared, and now please don't laugh. So now they first appeared on a Discord server. By the way, join Discord. On a Discord server for Minecraft. Minecraft is a computer game for kids. Well, okay, it's not for kids. Never mind. Don't worry the nuances here. The point is, it's a somewhat silly computer game where they randomly leaked a bunch of these secret documents. And these documents were not picked up for almost a month. And I believe the person that leaked them on that Discord server, his nickname was, oh my God, I have it somewhere. Never mind. Don't worry. I'll find it. But yes, so they were on that server. Oh, Vao Mao was the name of the person that posted these. So after about a month, these documents got posted on 4chan, an image board, an anonymous image board, which is known for weird stuff, but like leaks are possible. And then after that, the Russian third grade propaganda channel that was called A Woman from Donbass found these documents on 4chan, downloaded them. That's when supposedly the editing happened about the number of troops casualties. And from there, that's when they started spreading. It's ludicrously hilarious how poor this is. So if it's a special operation where someone on the Minecraft's, not WikiLeaks, not to some journalism, but on a Minecraft server of Discord posts some secret intelligence, then they need to go to 4chan in a month, and then like they need a third grade Russian troll, like not troll, but like a propagandist to pick them up. It's just stupid. So I my personal opinion on all this situation, let's kind of sum it up. So this is not a plan. It never was a plan. It provides little to no information about Ukraine, with some very minor sensitive things that supposedly the enemy intelligence should know anyway. If it doesn't know, then it's not doing their job. And we do know that Russian intelligence works more or less. It's a debatable question. But still, so these documents, they do not really provide any kind of advantage beyond the hype factor. The ways that they've been leaked is questionable, and their authenticity is pretty much more or less confirmed. So my bet, personal bet, and this is just my opinion right now, is that there was some guy that decided to leak it. So he just posted it, but no one cared. And then someone, like, a month later is like, oh, this is cool. Let me repost it to 4chan. Then reposted it on 4chan. And then it's just by the chain of accidents somehow ended up. We know this precedent before, like when documents about certain development equipment has been posted on like forums of some tank games. This has happened before. But the point is, this story is stupid. There is nothing in these documents that are extremely sensitive. Obviously, it's a big problem for internals, like, because leaking documents is not cool, especially secret ones. Because if you're gonna leak a secret document, can you actually leak something that matters? And that's what I have to say to you about these secret documents. And I'm gonna cut here for the talk, and we're gonna go back to chat. And I'm pretty sure you have a lot of questions and discussions. All right. That was a long talk, guys. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did studying this. Gotta say, I was laughing my ass off, like when I was going through everything. Especially when I was studying the documents, I was like, oh my god, like this is nothing. This is literally nothing. And then people are like discussing, oh no, we should like this is sabotaging Russia Ukrainian counteroffensive. No, please grab your hands. I was like, how? Rope access works. Stalin and Hitler had good weather reports in Ukraine. Putin can check these. Yes, for sure. Yes. Well, no one has any questions. Perfect. Job's done. Makes me happy. Wow, did I talk almost for an hour? Holy shit. Smash the like. Yeah, for sure. 4chan motivated January 6th. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure there was more stuff than just 4chan on January 6th. January 6th was a lot of stuff. Like 4chan played, I don't think, that big of a role in that. I mean, some of it, yeah. I mean, I don't want to get into it. What the fuck is a 4chan? 4chan is an image board where people post images and discussions anonymously. That's where, for example, QAnon first appeared. That's where all of this hype about like anonymous community is also originated. It's kind of like stuff where people talk shit. Most of it is some anime girls with big tits, though. Nice talk. Yeah, I agree. Hope so. I took my time actually studying this. I hope it was nice. Yeah. When did you meet your wife? Long before you were hold a when did you meet your wife, and how long before you were hold a conversation in Ukraine? I answered you, JC, the Music Man, right before the stream started. I met my wife just over 5 years ago, and it took me about a year to get more or less fluent in Ukrainian. Racist stuff, conspiracy theories. Yes, that's a good description of 4chan, actually. Like, seriously, that's not a bad description. Love the way you're summarizing. Okay. Lanluigi, I read on newspaper that there were leaks of Russian secret documents, meaning America has top-level spying inside Russia. The risk is that any leak might identify the spies. Oh, I'm completely certain that there is many, many, many spies inside Russia. Like, Russia is panicking. We hear that a lot. It's just they don't have the kind of the courage and the way to do it publicly. But I'm pretty sure a lot of them are selling a lot of info to US. I'm pretty sure US knows pretty much what Putin had for dinner today. Probably some pile of shit. The Discord link for Ukraine Matters has expired. The links should not be expiring. Okay, JJ, if the link is expired, I'm not sure. Like, it should be working. It's a working link. We did check that it's a working link. I did not change anything. It was supposed to be never expiring. I don't know even how to check it. Whatever. Please mention the air defense part. Air defense parts of the leaks. Your channel currently been blocked for several times. What? Your channel has currently been blocked for several times. Are you watching the video from the beginning or something? Like, did I get blocked? Shit. Okay. I hope at least this my rant for the documents was saved, because then I can just put it separately. But if you're still here with me, thank you so much for being here with me. All of it's apparently 1,500 of you. What are you talking about, dude? It's 1,500. It's amazing. It's about 1,525 people more than what I was expecting for. Do you think Putler has a body double? Yes, I do believe so. It's one of the conspiracy theory that I believe. I don't have any way to prove it. I don't think like there is a good reason to dispute, but for me it's just I cannot believe that it's the same guy that sits like from half a room from everyone, don't shake hands with any kind of foreign diplomats, leaders that come essentially visiting him. It was recently, for example, during the meeting from some of the African countries and whatnot, and Brazil, I believe, or something. And then there is also another guy that just goes into like a crowd of people and like, oh, let me go drive a car, whatnot. It's just like, it's so bizarre. So I do not have any proof for that, but we know that body doubles exist. How many of them had Gaddafi had? Like 3 or something. So body doubles is the thing. Like, it's a thing. It existed before, and I'm pretty sure it exists now as well. I don't know about Antonovsky Bridge. It's still, remember, it's still a combat zone. I don't think the equipment can just come and fix it. We're still here with you. Hey, thank you. Thank you for being with me. By the way, thanks for watching my channel, guys. I really appreciate it. Really, 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 really appreciate it. Actually, sorry. Let me. All right. I open a fresh YouTube page and your live stream appears at the top, not blocked for me. Thanks, JC. Appreciate the check. No, it works. If the stream doesn't work, I hope it works in recording. As the saying goes, don't shite in your own backyard. Russia has ever learned not to throw stones over the neighbor fences. Russia has a big. Russia never recovered. Like, for them. Oh, sorry. I forgot that I need to look at the camera. For a lot of Russians, as for Putin, the fall of the Soviet Union was not like a liberation, like for a lot of nations that were subjugated by the Soviet Union. Because despite what a lot of people were like discussing, that there was the NATO bloc and then there was the Warsaw Pact was never voluntary. Like, the countries didn't stand in line to join the Warsaw Pact. There were just a lot more tanks that persuaded the countries in the Warsaw Pact to join them. So it's not really surprising when the first opportunity arises for the countries to just exit it. And a lot of that for Russians is perceived as, and you should watch Vlad Vexler and listen to Vlad Vexler because he explains the psychology a lot better than I do. But for a lot of Russians, this left essentially, we were great and then we weren't anymore. And they experienced a lot of the painful reforms in the 90s as something that made country weak. And generation that were born after 90s that never experienced it, they were just brought up with these stories from the elderly saying, oh, how great the Soviet Union was, how everyone was afraid of it, and they put it essentially on top of Russia. But then, like, it collapsed. Then during the 90s we got poor, and now we need to go back to, well, they don't know what Soviet Union is, but they just want to be great again, I guess. Do you think you may be to vacation to Simon Crimea by summer 2024? Maybe. General Zaluzhny will tell me if I may. Do you think that military AI is going to be worldwide into this conflict? I don't think AI will develop fast enough to be impactful for this conflict. I think that it requires a lot of experimentation still. Like, the problem with current AI is that it can present fake stuff as good as it presents true stuff, and that is a big problem for the military. Great show, yeah, thanks. Russia has more landmines than any country. They should improve their own land before trying to steal someone else. I mean, Russia has the most land. More land, not land mines, but land mass. Sorry, yeah, yeah. Russia has all the land they need, so it's. Your stream was not visible on by tablet. I had to go to PC to watch it for your info. I don't know what it is, Vince. Seriously, whatever it is, we have 1,500 of you here. That's all we need. I'm really happy that you listened to my little bit rant. I'm still gonna answer some of your questions. Remember, if you answered questions before, I'm gonna go through that with a Nightbot to check them out. There's gonna be video tomorrow about the situation on the front lines. We're gonna talk some more, but I'm just gonna take additional 7 minutes answering questions, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Will Russia be kicked out of UN Security Council? Who cares? Like, UN is a joke. UN is a joke. UN discredited itself as an organization that is completely irrelevant to situation in the world. Right now, a lot of countries are and everyone is still participating in UN, but it's such a wishful thinking. And honestly, I'm waiting who will be the first country that's going to make the first step to pull out and stop paying those ludicrous sums of monies to the overpaid UN diplomats. I don't underestimate AI revolution. I am a big part of it. I use AI for a lot of stuff. Upcoming or current religious unrest in Russia, don't care. Anything goes. If it makes a war, if religious unrest in Russia makes war go shorter, I approve of that. More religious unrest in Russia. Do really don't care about the future of Russia? Yes, I don't. Rothenberg in the early 90s, Russia will fall apart, lost the warlords, lost of nukes. Don't care. Don't care. Elius Kivinas, great talk. Thank you for what you're doing. Appreciate it. Support Ukraine. Support Ukraine. That's what matters. Like, Russia doesn't matter. What happens inside Russia doesn't matter. Whatever is there after Russia doesn't matter. Ukraine matters. Support Ukraine, support Ukrainian people, support Ukrainian refugees. Anything you can do. Write your politician, direct representative of your country, the one that you know, this week. Go on the email, take 10 minutes, write an email. I don't know, ask ChatGPT. We're talking AI. Go on ChatGPT, write an email to my representative, name this, so he can support Ukraine more. There we go. Send it to him. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Support Ukraine. Ukraine, it has the power to correctly finalize this conflict. So Russia is never a threat again to European nations, to Western way of life, to democracy. And we need to support Ukraine for that. How is Ukraine going to become part of NATO? It will join it. If the requirement is that they do not be at war with Russia, just never sign a peace agreement. How is, what is it, Cyprus? Is Cyprus? Yeah. That is divided between Turkey and Greece. They're both are part of NATO. We need to understand that a lot of NATO talks is bullshit. Like, a lot of talks is bullshit. It's all politics. If there is a political will to join NATO, Ukraine will be part of NATO. That's it. That's it. So all of these questions are irrelevant if there is a will. If we're talking like, oh, if Ukraine will still be shot at from Russia's side, well, then the question is, how do we demilitarize Russia? That's a whole different question. What do you think will happen in Ukraine when they defeat Russia? EU, yes. NATO, hopefully. There are questions with Turkey and Hungary. I definitely think that there will be security guarantees for Ukraine coming in. As for what's going to happen in Ukraine politically, it's an open question. That's why we need to support Ukraine, because then we're going to have more leverage to make sure that Ukraine is not going to turn into weird nationalistic power with huge militarism, but rather turn to democratic world and become more liberal democracy if we want that to be. To work closely with Poland. Stream with Mercado Media, when? I don't know. I reached out to Mercado Media. He said, yes, we should do a stream, and then I will reach out to you, and then he never did. Should we be ready for Ukraine to join EU after the war with Russia? Yes. Yes. EU for sure. For sure. Ukraine will join the EU 100%. NATO, it's a little bit probably longer perspective. My idea at least, but we'll see. Nightbot test programming 2 minutes before beginning the live. Yes. Do you think this will be the last European war? No. I don't think so. Wars are fought for a reason. And I do not believe in humanity as much that to expect that there will be no war. That's a little bit silly. That's why nations need to be prepared for it. That's why we need big guns. I want democracies to have two big things: big freedoms and big fucking guns. So whoever tries to take that freedom gets kicked in the nuts. Do you plan on releasing an update Ukrainian war plan on 4chan? I need to join Minecraft server first before I release anything on 4chan. Do you think real estate will be cheap and easy to get in Ukraine after this war? Really want to go there and get a job, help rebuild? Yeah, for sure. Ukraine will have a lot of investment, so the prices will rise rapidly. But right after the war, you will still be able to catch a lot of the early development, and things will still be cheap. All right. So last couple of questions, guys, and then we're gonna... Cyprus is a sovereign nation, not part of Greece and not part of NATO, nor Cyprus, the breakaway region, is also not part of Turkey. Oh yeah, sure, Tom, totally. Your Discord link is coming invalid. It should be valid. I will check it after the stream. Sorry for the misconvenience. We've checked it before the stream. It was valid before the stream. I don't know why it became invalid. What about the Hungarians and especially Orban? Thus far, Hungary under Orban has become opposed to any idea of Ukraine joining both EU and NATO. How can be this overcome? Kick Hungary out of EU, NATO. We don't need a illiberal authoritarian regime inside of our midst. Uh, I mean, that's my position. The same for Turkey. Turkey will sell out NATO every first moment it will feel that it's not benefiting from it. So I am very very radical on that point. For me, I do not think that democracies should be interacting in a friendly way with autocracies unless we are requesting them to do anything. So Hungary should not be given a thought. I think Hungary should be suspended until they return back to the democratic values, to democratic way of life. Right now, it's an authoritarian. It's a growing authoritarian power. They stopped being a democracy. They are now essentially a baby authoritarian regime. What's your opinion if the counteroffensive is not successful? It's going to be a stalemate. That's going to be a very nasty situation. As is already used by Ukrainian armed forces to scan AI, IS, yeah, probably. That's good. I'm not expecting. Okay, AI is going to participate in the war. Let's put this clear. What I'm saying is that it's going to redefine warfare. That's my perspective. Peace through strength, yes. How do you feel about U.S. military base in Crimea in the future? No. Can you elaborate on how Ukrainian army can reach Crimea? Uh, they enter Crimea through the land corridor that connects Crimea with the rest of Ukraine. That's how they reach it. Oh, Mercado Media, what is he here? I hope he's here. Hello, if you're here, reach out, please, to stream. I want to do stream. I like streaming. I like streaming together with really cool people, especially with Starsky. Starsky was amazing. Oh my god, I wish I would have such a great charisma that people would just watch me. Maybe I need to shave my head. Yeah, yeah. Oh my god, I think I'm getting tired. All right, last two questions, guys. Who do you think 4chan is? What? Why do you think 4chan is racist? Because it is. I mean, 4chan is not racist. People on 4chan are. That that's that's the easy solution. Was the Ukrainian KIA figure in the leak non-doctored plausible to you? To me, it was much lower than I feared and basically confirms the casualty ratio is in Ukraine's favor. I mean, yes, casualty ratio is in Ukraine's favor. That's not really a question. And casualties is about as expected. Like I mean, let me double check the casualties of Ukraine listed. So casualties in the document that I'm having. Again, this part was heavily doctored potentially. So, but the casualties that I'm having are 16 to 17,000 KIA. So that's wasn't that what was reported by Ukrainian side? That's the number. So yes, that's about as expected. Uh, Henry Keen from UATV. I would love to see him do a stream with you. Cool. Does he support Ukraine? I would like to do stream with people that support Ukraine. Not every person that reports on the war in Ukraine supports Ukraine. Does he support Ukraine? Big question. Big important question. So 4chan has Nazis. Should we invade? Yes. Invade 4chan. Hashtag. Okay, jokes aside, thank you so much for watching this, guys. I think I'm going to post this huge segment on the leaked documents separately. Really appreciate all the 14,500, oh, sorry, 14,500 of you that decided to spend your lovely time with me here. I love you so much. Please, please, please support Ukraine. write to your representatives. That's the most important. If you want to support this channel, do it on the Buy Me on Coffee. Subscribe as a members to this channel. We're going to see you tomorrow. Slava Ukraini, and I'll see you next time.